Welcome back to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I am, as always, Chat Show. How are you? How is your new year going? Still here in the month of January, which I don't care for the spelling. Whoever's in charge of spelling January, let's get back into the Mensa think tank and figure out if we can do a little bit of correcting. There aren't enough letters for my own personal needs. Write to us, won't you? And let me know what you think of these opening remarks. KPCSfanmail@gmail.com. No Sam Levine or Jamie Foxx today. In the previous show, I answered one of your letters explaining why no Sammy and Jamie. We're coming up on 10 years in March. 400 episodes, 10 years, and I think that's it. I think I'm good. I really do. I started this damn thing 10 years ago and people were saying, what's a podcast? And now that it's basically jury duty in Los Angeles, when someone calls you and asks you to be on their friend's podcast, I think I'm okay to go. I'm okay to go. That's my news in the new year. For those of you who give a good goddamn about The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Season 2 dropped on the Amazon Prime. Do you have the Amazon Prime? Do you like 2-day shipping? You get all this programming for free if you just sign up for the 2-day shipping. We just want to get you through the casino before you stay at the hotel. Yeah, the show is up. It's already an exciting second season, and we have awards now. Again, you could feel it's palpable in the room, as I've mentioned at these award shows now. People are fucking over this show winning things. I can't wait for Veep to come back so we can stop winning anything. My guest today, I've technically worked with, though never in the same room. I've been a fan of hers. What was the first thing I saw her in? I'm going to say, I feel like it was definitely before Entourage. Well, we'll have a discussion about it. Please welcome Constance Zimmer. Constance.
Hi. I've been sitting here the whole time.
Yeah. I felt like I tortured you long enough in the silence.
No, there was so much I wanted to say when you were talking.
Is there?
I can't believe it's 10 years.
I know. Well, listen, it was always under the radar. I would like to say by design, but we were live streaming video the first 9 years of the show on Sundays, and no one ever watches anything live TV, especially not the internet. And every now and then we'd have a guest where tens of thousands of people were watching live, and it would blow our minds. But usually it was a handful of hundreds of people. But I ended up getting the longest on-camera interview that a lot of people have ever given, like Tom Hanks. He's a talker. He went for 2 hours and 42 minutes.
What?
Yep, because it's the internet, so there's no time restraints. Will not go that long, don't worry. But,
sure.
But, yeah, it was a week before Christmas. He had just finished promoting the Captain Phillips movie and the other movie where he played Walt Disney.
Right.
Right? I used to put in the email, let me know if we'll have a food and beverage there and a professional makeup person. But if you want anything else to eat or drink, let me know. And so he wrote back, a 6-pack of Pabst Blue Ribbon would not be horrible. So at one point in the interview, he had a PB in each hand. PBR? Yeah, PBR in each hand. And he said, this is my happiness juice and this is my bitterness juice. And that's how we conduct the interview. And it was a lot of fun.
That sounds amazing. And why didn't you just do that with everybody?
With the Pabst Blue Ribbon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, some people, I think Seth MacFarlane drank the better part of a quart of Jack Daniels, and Billy Bob Thornton went through, as Jamie calls it, a sleeve of Bud Light.
Nice.
A 12-pack.
Now you could just give out CBD gummies or something.
I think.
And just kind of watch it, like, within the half hour, how they start to change.
Look at me differently.
And shift. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it also clock that moment where they say, I don't feel anything, and then how much longer it takes before they feel too much.
Right. I mean, I'm just giving you something. It's your, 10-year anniversary coming up.
I've got 7 episodes left.
Oh, and that's it.
The tour begins. And this is actually an announcement of sorts.
Oh, well, I'm so glad I'm here for this. And I'm so glad you waited this long to have me.
Yeah.
Just to, be your tap dance out.
Yeah. Well, listen, we met so very briefly in 1994.
That's right.
I had a question in the research The research said you were working with American Cinematheque in 1994 for the tribute to Rob Reiner, Did Our Paths Cross There, or something like that. And then before we went on the microphones, I said I felt like we had met before, and then you told me
that we had.
This was the place.
That's right. And I was grateful that you did the research because I would have never have been able to tell you when.
Or why,
but that it was a great interaction. And because I had so many that were so bad.
Not great.
And
we don't need names unless you really want to feel it.
No, we don't need names, actually, because they're quite large names that I just don't want to remind them that it was me that they did something horrible to. And I'm not talking about like #MeToo or any of that stuff. Just not nice human beings. Yeah. But I mean, that was, I was a benefit coordinator. And so I did all these events where we raised money for charity. So you would see the same people every year because they were on the board or the committee or they had their friends. And but those events, they were called the moving picture ball or the motion picture ball.
There you go.
You always honored somebody. So like that year was Rob Reiner.
Right.
And then we did Sean Connery and Steven Spielberg. And I mean, the people that I would interact with, because I was in charge of giving the celebrities their own, like, a person that would help them backstage, that would do all that. So I would interact. And like, I wasn't an actor. I was trying to be an actor, but nobody knew.
Had you attended the American Academy of Dramatic Arts at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So clearly you had your sights.
Yes, but nobody knew in that business that I wanted to be an actor because I felt like that was weird and conflicting and everybody would think that I want something from them when what I needed from them was just to come to the event to raise money for charity.
Well, what a smart way also to be around big-time show business and get a little bit of an education about the people involved.
And the people that I hope I don't ever have to work with. Yes, it was.
Yeah, but you don't know that going in. Like I had a wonderful television writer in here and great stand-up comedian, Carol Leifer. And, she wrote on Seinfeld and all these great shows. And she said, people always thought the best way to break in as a writer was to write a spec script of your favorite show and then somehow get it to something. She said, no, be an intern, work as a writer's assistant, get in the writer's room as someone who's just running coffee. Be around what's happening to actually get an education before you even think about asking someone to read what you've written.
Yeah, and also I think that people in the business appreciated that they didn't know I was an actor. Like I ended up becoming friends with Larry Kasdan through doing an event for Kevin Costner, and none of them knew I was an actor. And I would work with Meg and Larry Kasdan all the time because they were part of one of the charities we did events for.
Right.
And when I couldn't be at some event for some reason, they were like, why can't you be there? And I said, because actually I'm an actor and I got a job. And Larry said, why have you never told me you're an actress?
That's
and I
great.
said, because this is my job here. That's what I'm trying to do. And I didn't want the two to mix. And he was, from that day forward, he has been the most incredible supporter of me.
Yeah.
And, I auditioned for Wyatt Earp. And then then it was weird though, because then I thought, wait, but that's not why I'm doing this. And so then it became complicated, but good thing happened. I started working as an actor. And so I had to stop doing the other job.
Right. But it's also eases the lovely rejection, which is such a huge part of any actor's life.
It does?
When it comes from someone you know.
Right. I was like, I feel like the rejection is never easy.
Yeah, no. Well, here's questions about rejection. So I did put out a book called How I Slept My Way to the Middle. Not just a funny title, and technically still available
great
on
title.
Amazon. But I broke off it in the middle of it to devote a little side chapter to the auditioning process and how absurd it is and how it's designed to fail, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah. You're not going to actually get the actor's best in any audition situation. There are some directors over the years, Clint Eastwood, I think, Robert Redford, who I remember hearing from agents after I had passed that threshold of auditioning to getting offers, It was the 90s. And I did a few movies. I don't know the exact number, 41, but I do know that 6 of them were quite good. Where they would say, well, no, he auditions everyone. It doesn't matter who the person is, unless you're the one that's, I'm sure, green-lighting the film. And I always felt like once I was getting offers and once I was an alleged entity, then I didn't mind going in and blowing their minds with what I could prepare.
Right.
Because I already had the confidence of other offers, right? But the lack of confidence, I'm sure you've been on the other side of it all when people come into audition. I always get a half hour behind on the first person because I'm just giving them more notes and giving them more of a chance, remembering being in that situation.
Yeah.
But also just letting everyone know it's a numbers game, the rejection. It's a guaranteed part of your life.
Yes.
There's no way around it.
No way around it.
Yeah. Make peace with it. Also learn it's weirdly not about you.
I know, but that is, I think, what is the hardest thing because as actors, we're so incredibly insecure.
Yeah.
A lot of us, I'm not going to say myself, but are very narcissistic.
Sure.
So, of course, you're going to think it's about you.
Right.
What would it be about
Right.
if it wasn't like the way you look, the way you acted, how tall you are, how short you are, if you're a brunette or you're not, and it's a very hard lesson to understand and walk away and say, that wasn't my part. Because if it was my part, I would have gotten it.
Right.
And that's, I think, the first psychological thing I had to do to myself is I'd say, she got my part. And I would always have friends around me that said, well, it wasn't your part. And I said, no, it actually was written for me. And I didn't even get it. I mean, that's when it's like, how is that not personal? You wrote the part for me, and then I had to audition for the part you wrote for me, and then I still didn't get it. That's how is that not personal?
Are you at liberty to speak of which project that was?
Yes.
Because that's fucking weird.
Yes, it is. Luckily, I don't think the show was very successful, and I don't even remember the name of it.
Perfect.
But it was starring Anne Hesh.
Sure.
And it was like the best friend or the friend with her. And it was one of those situations where I had auditioned for the Anne Hesh part, right? And then wasn't a big enough name, but they loved me and they said, we want to work with you. We'd love for you to be on this show. We're going to write this character
For you,
around you, kind of based on what you did in your audition, your snarkiness and all this kind of stuff. And I said, oh, great. Oh my God, it's amazing. And it was fairly at the beginning of my career, not so much at the beginning, but enough where I was like, oh my God, this is it.
Yeah.
I've made it. Like I'm going into audition rooms and now they're going to write a character. And then you get the call like the next day and they're like, yes, so here's this new character. But you have to come back in and read the character and you're going to be up against somebody else. And I said, I'm sorry. You mean just to have a reference? Like just to go, here's what we wrote for you. And then here's just somebody else doing your shtick. And yeah, that was it. And then I actually didn't get it, which is fine. Actually, blessing in disguise.
did it go to anyone you know?
I feel like it did, but I honestly can't even remember. And I'm not lying.
It wasn't you or Pamela Adlon?
It wasn't Pam.
I was so happy that you guys, she had that scene with you.
Yeah, well, that's, the second her show got picked up for doing the pilot, she called me and she said, this is it. This is our moment. I'm writing a scene for us because and she goes, I don't care if it's inside or baseball. I don't give a shit.
Right.
I think people need to understand we're not the same fucking person.
That's so great.
And she's like, will you do it? I don't have any money. I can't pay you any money.
Yeah. I play her brother on the show. I can attest that there's no money.
Yeah. And she was like, I know.
It's never cost me so much to be on a show.
But it's,
I love her madly.
I love her so much. And it really warmed my heart that was her like go-to, like, let's do this because now I have the power and I can say, yes, we can be seen in the same scene together. And it was so funny. I mean, I keep telling her, I was like, you should have audition scenes every season of you and I in there. And we've all like, we're wearing wigs or we're like, we've cut our hair short so that every time we see each other, we still look exactly the same.
Right.
It's very funny.
Yeah. Well, you both had wildly successful careers. I'm so very proud of her because she directs every episode. You know, it's really kind of...
it's so impressive.
Yeah, it is. It truly is. The internet insists you were born in Seattle, but were you, in fact, born there and or raised there?
No, I was, yes, I was born in Bellevue.
Okay.
But I was only there until I was 5.
All right.
So I feel like I can't really claim it. Especially,
How did you get out?
My parents got divorced.
Sure.
And then my
That'll
mom
do it.
left and came to California.
Aha.
But everybody's like, oh, did you ever see Nirvana? Did you ever drink a Starbucks? I'm like, no, I was 5.
God, I would never ask you that.
Thanks. I appreciate it. But it is
You're from
always very
Seattle.
funny.
Did you ever see Nirvana?
Yes, that's what I get.
Wow.
Or go to the first Starbucks.
Oh, God.
No, I mean, I hate Starbucks. Sorry, Starbucks, but not a fan.
All right.
Yeah.
Where are you a fan of? Do you want to...
Of coffee or just in general?
Are you in the coffee generation?
I'm kind of a crazy coffee snob.
So your go-to in your neighborhood is...
Blue Bottle.
Sure.
But my husband is an incredible barista.
At home.
So yeah, we have like insane coffee at home. We have like a pour over machine and coffee beans that get delivered from Portland, Oregon, from Heart Coffee, which is the best coffee.
Really?
Yeah, delivered to your door.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan, I need a couple of notes in the other room if you don't mind. Heart Coffee.
Heart
Coffee.
Yeah.
And also, this is really embarrassing, and please forgive me.
What?
I should make sure in my last 7 shows that Pamela Adlon comes on.
Oh, my God.
It's so embarrassing. I'm so sorry.
She hasn't been on for 10 years.
I know. Well, here's the thing. Right because I played her brother on the show, we started talking about her coming on the show, and it happened. She was booked. She was scheduled.
Oh, got it.
And then the morning she was going to come on, she said, I can't come on your show right now, right? Because the Louis C.K. story had broke.
Sure.
And her life was turned upside down.
Yes.
And then I just gave her some space and then completely forgot because I'm an idiot.
Well, and also because you've been working now as well.
Yeah.
More than ever.
More than I should.
Not true. Not true.
So 5, uprooted. Now that's a big fucking thing, no?
Sure, I don't know. I don't remember.
Sure, okay, good.
I have a kid that's 11, and there's so much stuff that I say. I get so mad at her. I'm like, you don't remember going to Italy?
Oh, right.
What? You know how much that trip cost me? How do you not remember going to Italy?
How old was she when you went to Italy?
She was 2.5.
Okay, well, interesting.
So I don't really expect her to remember, but still, I mean, not to have any of it within. So I show her pictures, and no.
I have memories from being 5. You don't have any memories of it?
I do if I look at pictures.
Sure.
Yeah, and then it kind of turns it over and I go, oh, I remember that birthday party when I was 5 and those twins opened my present before I opened it. And yeah.
Yeah, that's what it takes.
I remember that kind of stuff. Some sort of pain.
Yeah.
And a photo to prove.
Right.
Right. But otherwise I can't I can't create it on my own.
And at what age... Because it kind of happened for me at 5, 6. So I'm curious always, at what age do you catch a glimpse of someone or something in the theater, on television, or in the movies, and the spark of some sort of idea, even if you don't know what it means, a connection to, I want to maybe do that?
I feel like I was I had very slow understanding of what I wanted to do because I couldn't pinpoint it. But I found a bunch of letters that I used to write to my mom pleading for her to let me watch Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley because they were on until 10 o'clock at night and it was a school night.
It was too late.
And it was too late. And and it's handwritten, of course, because that's what we did back then. We actually hand wrote notes.
I'm a little surprised there wasn't an opportunity to converse.
Right. No, just letters. And I would like slip them under. I don't know where I would put them.
Adorable.
Right. Sure. And it was just pleading about wanting to watch these shows, specifically Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days.
Favorite
and
character?
Mork and Mindy.
Favorite character on Happy Days? Did you have a favorite?
I mean, the Fonz.
Come on.
And by the way, worked with Henry Winkler and him and John Travolta are the only two people I'd ever written fan mail to as a little girl. Neither of them wrote me back. Whew. And to this day, I write back to every single fan that sends me a letter.
Except you didn't write back to John Travolta and Henry Winkler when they eventually...
No, so I told Henry the story.
Right.
And he felt...
He was crushed.
Horrible.
Yeah.
And...
He's a saint.
I mean, honestly...
This is the prickiest thing I've ever heard that he was capable of, which is to not write back.
Exactly.
To a child.
Oh, he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that he didn't write back or that somebody didn't write back, you know, for him.
Was it during the Happy Days run that this letter was sent?
Yes. Oh, because I loved the...
So he was probably getting 20,000 letters a week.
True.
So we'll give him that.
We'll give him that.
Yeah,
but, and by the way, since then, he's made up for it because I mean, every time I see him, it's like my long lost father.
Yeah.
It's the greatest human being.
Sweetest.
And again, so excited to see him winning awards.
Barry.
Yep.
Phenomenal.
Amazing.
And he keeps winning over our Tony Shalhoub on the Maisel program.
Yeah, sorry.
Which brings me such joy. You have no idea.
I know, because you guys are winning everything.
Yeah, we're winning everything except that. And I
Right.
keep pointing it out to Tony, who won a Tony, 3 months ago.
Right.
Or whatever. But, and other awards, it's enough already.
It's enough. I mean, really.
Yeah.
Spread the love, people.
And Henry,
Spread the love.
at the Emmys, when he held up his acceptance speech saying, I wrote this 43 years ago.
I know.
Was the greatest moment in the history of anything.
I know. It still gives me chills.
Yeah.
But so that I'm aware of that kind of history, that I liked actors and I liked television shows, but all through high school. And my mom told me that the second I could walk and talk, she knew I was going to be an actor or a performer of sorts.
Maybe a little natural born ham.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. We used to put on shows.
Oh. What kind of shows?
Well, like me and my sister would write them and perform them and put on costumes and
sketches, or
like
one acts?
circus acts.
Sure.
And we wrote like a superhero show. And it was when I wasn't the superhero, I was like this. And I know it's a podcast you can't see, but this famous thing where you can put your hands up on your eyes and do this like
with your
I was like
thumb
a
and
bird,
forefinger?
right?
Yeah.
I was like a bird superhero, and we would do them in German.
That's right. Summers with Grandma in Germany.
Exactly. So that was a whole nother level of writing. But I never attributed that to saying out loud that I wanted to be an actor.
No,
ever.
and so many children love to play act and what have you and become Congress people.
Right. Right.
Or anything.
So I think it wasn't until I was in high school and I was doing track and I was training for the Olympics in gymnastics when I was in
training for the Olympics.
4th grade, yes.
Now, you trained for the Olympics because there's a coach who says if you keep doing this correctly, you could make the Olympics?
Yes, because
Or the Olympics contacted you and said,
No.
we saw some of your 4th grade work. We're very impressed, and we would like you to train with our people.
No, it's, any kid is, all parents put their kids into gymnastics when they're little to like get out the energy and, let them learn coordination. And then there's those ones that stand out as being incredibly agile or limber or really good. And I was one of those kids. And so one of the trainers pulled my mom aside and said, this girl needs to go to the Olympics. And so I went into like 18 hours a day of training and I had no life.
Yikes.
And I was like in 4th grade. I mean, 4th, 5th grade, too young.
What was your...
I was good at everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Best all around.
I pretty much was. I mean, the floor was my favorite because you, again, could create a persona as with
Right.
music and a character, and that I loved. That was definitely my favorite.
Mugging and hamming.
Yep.
And,
See, there it was. It was
Yeah.
all there. And then I just got tired of it because I was such a social creature and
Sure.
I missed out on talking to people. And so I just said, I don't want to do it anymore. And luckily my mom said, okay. And then I stopped. I continued to do it like middle school, but then I got boobs and then that became a whole thing and
That's a whole
hormones
thing.
happened. And then everything slowed
the
down.
internet literally said she was she was a gymnast until puberty.
No, it does not.
Yes, it did. Yes, it does.
Well, I've clearly said it in obviously other interviews. They can't just pull that up from nowhere, right?
Until puberty.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
That happened. And I didn't do my first play until I was a senior in high school.
And what was that play?
That was Grease.
Okay, we did Godspell.
And I was a cheerleader at the time.
Of course.
And so I think for me, I went, I'm a cheerleader. I went and I wanted to audition, and I auditioned for Patty Simcox. I didn't even want the lead parts.
Nope.
I wanted the crazy character part.
The scene stealer.
Yeah. And so, so that's what I was. I was Patty Simcox.
And so much fun.
And that was it. I loved it. And then I did Peter Pan, and I was Tiger Lily.
Of course.
Yes. Because, white women being cast.
Right. Scene stealer again.
Yes. And then that was it. And then I knew it. And then I was like, oh, this is what I want to do.
Right. And as a Spitfire.
Yeah.
And a potential ham bone.
Yeah, for sure.
You apply to and get into the
American Academy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but not until, I went and auditioned for NYU and Juilliard and had the biggest ego. I wish I still had that ego, but I walked into these auditions not prepared.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. And, you walk into that big, massive room and there's just a desk at the end of it with like 2 or 3 people at the end. And you walk in and they're like, okay, what have you prepared?
And you say nothing?
And I said,
prepared?
Yeah, I was like, I thought this was an interview. And they said, no, you're supposed to prepare a comedic monologue and a dramatic monologue.
Oh, boy.
And luckily, I was obsessed with Lily Tomlin at the time, and I had read her book.
The title of which is available online.
The universe. Yeah, it's that really long one. The universe. Some of the universe at the end. Mm-hmm. Now I can't remember it, but I had
on it.
I had remembered A Search for Signs of Intelligent Life in the Universe. That's, I think, what it was called. There we go.
Jordan.
I came up with that.
Oh, sorry.
I found it myself in my own crazy brain.
You did.
And I weirdly have like a photographic memory. So I kind of just by memory started to do this monologue where she's like, I'm standing on the corner of Walk and Don't Walk. And I just kind of randomly went through the pages that I remembered.
Seconds after they said you need to prepare a comedy monologue?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as you can imagine, it was probably pretty crappy. And then I had to do something dramatic. And I said, I don't have anything dramatic. Can I just make it up? And
Make it up.
Make it up.
Yeah, we'd like you to make up a little Shakespeare if that's possible.
Yeah, that's what I did.
What did you do for the make-em-ups in the drama?
I just kind of wrote it as I went. And I just cried.
More importantly, when you asked, can I just make it up? What was their response?
What were they going to do? I think they were more fascinated by me and
not being prepared.
Right. And like,
how
came
refreshing.
all this way.
Did you in fact go to New York for this moment?
I did.
And it never crossed anyone's mind that maybe you should prepare something.
Again, I blame my mother.
Well,
sorry
who else?
if she's listening.
Who else are we going to blame?
I don't know. But
sorry if she's listening. You'll have to give me an email. I'll send her the link.
But so not surprising that I didn't get into those. But yeah. And then American Academy. And that was great because that was also local. I could just, move away, but still be close to my mom.
And you had learned to prepare.
Yes, at that point.
By the time you got to that.
Yeah. Learned that lesson.
Did you do the Lily Tomlin again?
No, I didn't. I don't even remember what I did.
That's perfect and all right.
No clue.
Yeah. And so shortly after that, you start working for this organizing charity benefit place.
Exactly. Yeah.
And while auditioning for things during the day?
Yeah. I wasn't getting very many auditions. I was fortunate to get an agent very quickly through remember those commercial workshops where you would pay money to go and do like fake commercials in front of the camera? I did that. And got actually my first agent from there, who I ended up then being with for 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was going out, not a lot, and I didn't really start working until like 5 years of trying. And those were the 5 years I was doing the benefit coordinating stuff.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I don't really know what happened, but I just started booking commercials like a crazy person. And then
Yeah.
I became that person that everyone said, oh my God, the Rite Aid girl is on Seinfeld. You know, it was like everybody knew me from commercials, and then I started integrating into television shows, but everybody was like, oh, that's the girl that was in that, you know, all those car commercials, and now she's on a television show. And so that was that.
Yeah. And that's not bad.
No, it was great.
Do you remember any particular mentors or teachers along the way?
I mean, I studied with Stella Adler
Oh, wow.
while she was still alive. I did her master class, which is pretty amazing and intense. And I saw her break a lot of people's dreams. But I got it. I mean, I got it. I understood what she was saying and what she was teaching and how she was trying to guide these young actors.
What was she saying?
Pretty much that if you're bullshitting me, you're bullshitting everybody else, and you're bullshitting yourself. And being an actor doesn't just mean putting on bullshit. It means being more real than you've ever been in anything you've done in your life. And you could see some actors go like just their brains would freeze up, and they're like, but this isn't me. It's a character. And she was like, everything is you. And, you know, and you just, it is that weird thing, because we all as actors, I think, want to slip into characters, which we do. But they are you innately. But she just said she could tell when somebody was flat out just bullshit. Just, that's not acting. That's just layering. And there's a difference, you know?
Right.
And so I learned from her. And then I studied with Arthur Mendoza, who was like her... I get
protege.
Yeah,
sorts?
Exactly. Yeah. And so what I learned from him was also kind of a same of what like Stella talks about, but his was a very specific to me. And he just told me one day when I was like performing a monologue in a play that we were doing, he like stopped me in the middle of it, and he said, I'm going to tell you 3 words, and then I want you to get off the stage and come back with that information in your brain. Don't stop. And I said, okay. And this was a play that we were already in rehearsal. So I'd worked with him already for years. And I said, okay, what? And he said, you are enough.
Wow.
And I burst into tears. It was, you know, it's those moments that I can put myself right back there. And I mean, I burst into tears, and he's like, get off the stage.
Kleenex.
Yes, Kleenex right there. And,
you are enough.
You are enough. Yeah.
Stayed with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's pretty astonishing.
Yeah. It's
to connect so perfectly and easily.
Yeah. And because it feels so simple, but it's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah. I don't know why that's all I knew to do and made that up. I mean, I came from stand-up comedy. I didn't have any formal training. And I was insanely fortunate to work with Barry Levinson at the beginning of my career, in that he also came from stand-up comedy. Weirdly, he and Craig T. Nelson were a comedy team in the coffee houses of the 60s.
That's crazy.
But he's a great writer, and he's great at casting, and then he's sort of a phantom director in that he doesn't really give much direction. But he also hates rehearsal, and he hates to see actors acting. So for my first experience, you know, I remember after I got the part, I said, my manager also represents Paul Reiser, and when Paul, you know, he did Diner with Barry, but when he got Aliens, it was this whole other beast, and so he worked with this acting coach. So I said to Barry Levinson, so if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to get a copy of the script to this acting coach so I can really be great for you. And this was after I got the part. And he said, oh, no. You're the guy. You're the guy. Just come in and be the guy that you are when you're doing the guy. And that was insanely lucky, because I'm surrounded by all these brilliant stage actors and actresses in that movie, Avalon, who desperately want a rehearsal. And I was so relieved when he said, no rehearsal. Just go out and have some dinners together and some lunches. He also hated my version of his Baltimore accent. I don't know why I keep doing it to this day.
Because you can't help yourself.
What is that? What are you doing? I don't understand. So, and he really, so if the scene was you and I at microphones, he would come to the edge of the table and say, okay, so Constance and Kevin, you're on the mics there and you're having a discussion. Jordan's in the other room behind the glass. And then he would just walk away. And he would put the headphones on, and he'd look at the monitor, action, and then you'd do the scene, cut, and he'd come over and he'd say, astounding. That was astounding. You're sitting there, you have your water, there's a Kleenex over there, and he would walk away. He would just point things out that are in the peripheral. And I've talked to other actors that have worked with him, and their experience was the same. But insanely lucky the very first time when I didn't really know what I was doing.
Yeah.
For a guy to say, trust your instincts of being real in the scene, because that's what you're doing. And it was all I had. And then later I learned, there's a whole thing called less is more, and that's what you're doing. And
right.
Very, very, very lucky that's all I've ever been able to do.
Yeah, I have to say, too, that I wonder if it's an easier thing, and pardon me if this feels like an assumption, but for men to embrace before women, because
the idea of less is more.
No, that we can get caught up in the appearance of it all. And I remember a job that I got, and I beat out like 6'2" models, and I was like the only girl that was under 5'5". And I asked the director, how in the world did I get that job? And he said, because you weren't afraid to look unattractive.
Which was not what you were going for.
And I thought, oh, okay. All right.
But you didn't come in all glammed up.
Oh, no, I didn't. And I went in saying, this is who I am. I can't be anything else. Why am I in this room with 6-foot models? I'm not quite sure, but I can't be them. So I'll just be me. And I think that's just a lot as a woman when, we are always judged a lot based on appearance before we even talk.
Sure.
And so then having to, on top of that, be okay with everything that you represent.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I don't think, I'm still not okay with it. And I'm, almost 50. So it's like, Jesus, it's taken me this long.
Right. I can't disagree with your point of view here.
Yeah. That
it's organically easier for men to so-called not give a fuck.
Yeah, right.
Right? Because they start out as clueless.
Sure, maybe.
And some maintain that throughout their lives.
Yeah.
There are more clueless men than clueless women. I think we can all agree on that. And so
look, I don't want to agree, but I don't want to disagree. So I'm going to say, okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's get back to your journey, please.
Okay, because people care.
During those 5 years of auditioning, because I remember going on hundreds and hundreds of auditions where it seemed like I would walk in the room and they didn't say it, but it looked like they were thinking, how about anyone but you is going to get this part?
Yeah. And
figuring out a way to just sort of hang in there. So you had this great day job that was somewhat fulfilling and allowed you to be creative in non-acting ways. Were there other things in life that were prodding you forward in terms of just hang in there?
No, I mean, I was doing plays. And I love live theater.
Thriving theater community
where
of
it's
Los
like
Angeles. Talk
about, jury duty. That was like jury duty, trying to get someone to come see you in a show. So I was doing plays, but the feedback I was getting from plays and reviews were really helping me to keep going. I was also seeing a psychic. I'll be honest.
Keep talking.
Yeah. So I, at the time, was friends with Rain Pryor.
Okay.
And Rain was really into psychics and all this kind of stuff. And so I had hung out with her a couple of times, and she said, if you really want to know if you're going to make it in this business, you should go see my psychic. And she said, but be ready, because if she doesn't think you're going to make it, she'll tell you. And I thought, oh, wow. Okay. So do I want those answers? Yes. Yes, I do. And because, there's I think is it Madeline Kahn who has the great quote that says, Hollywood is the only place you can die from encouragement.
I love that quote.
I don't know if it's Madeline Kahn. Could be Carol
Jordan.
Could be Carol Kane.
We'll find out in a second.
Anyways, it's an amazing woman.
Yes.
But I felt like, everybody can keep telling me how great I am.
Right.
My friends, my parents, the
psychic,
the reviewers, but a psychic doesn't know me.
Doesn't know
never
you.
seen me perform.
Already has a reputation of breaking people's hearts.
Right. So why not? So I decided to go to this one woman, and I remember I walked in the door and I was standing in the doorway, and she said something to me that only 3 people in my life know about me.
Oh, Jesus.
And again, one of those moments, I started bawling, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I just thought.
In the doorway.
Oh, in the doorway. And I thought, oh no, am I? Okay. And then I also had told myself that if I went in there and she said you weren't going to make it as an actor, would I then stop acting? And I said, no. But I'm just curious. Mm-hmm. I mean, look, psychics are give or take. Some are great, some are horrible, some are, I don't even know.
Well, no, I mean, listen, as a cynic.
Yeah.
In this area, when you're in the doorway sobbing after she says the one thing that only 3 people know, my brain instantly goes to her thought process watching you sob, which is, I can charge this one double.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it could also be that was her expertise.
Sure.
Was this one thing, reading auras and being able to read an aura and from that pull something that nobody knows, and then you're hook, line, and sinker. You're like, everything she says you're going to believe.
Right.
But
once you sat down, what was her process of deciding you were not?
You're supposed to bring photos, and she kind of reads the photos and tells you who the people are without you telling her who they are and if they're living or they're dead. And it's kind of like, again, one of those tests that I think she was very good at reading things that were tangible in front of her, because a lot of her other stuff wasn't that accurate.
Like her Ouija board stuff?
No Ouija board. No Ouija board. But there was some stuff that wasn't accurate, which is fine. I mean, again, you can't go into a psychic and leave and do what they say or change your life.
I'm
you have
glad
to take,
to hear you say that.
I take all of it with a grain of salt. I just am fascinated by it.
Sure.
How they can be so on point about some things and then completely off and whatever. Such is life.
That weirdly makes it more believable.
Right.
I agree.
Right. But look, she told me that, and she didn't even know I was an actor. And she, of course, throughout talking said, so you are, are you trying to be an actor or a director or something in the entertainment field? And I said, an actor. And she said, okay, yes, right. Well, it's going to take you a while.
Oh, boy.
Now, again, anybody could say that.
Sure.
Right? I mean, unless I was going to be somebody that would get a job the next day and then like my whole career was stars. But she said, you're going to have to work for it. It's going to be long. It's going to be a hard kind of race to the finish.
Did she ask if you were up for the task?
No. But she just said, if you stick with this, it's going to have great rewards. And then she said something so crazy. And she said, you're going to be discovered by Ron Howard.
Wow.
Okay, now this is going to bring us back to all these events that I used to coordinate. So she said, you're going to be discovered by Ron Howard. And I thought, that's so specific.
Yeah.
And I love Ron Howard. And
Happy Days.
Yeah, again. So I was doing I think it was for the premiere of Dances with Wolves, I believe. And Brian Grazer was there and Ron Howard was there. And Brian Grazer came up to me out of the blue. I was like, one of the coordinators. So I was all dressed up and at the event. And he comes over to me and he said, hi, what's your name? And of course, this is where your brain goes, oh my God, this is Ron Howard's partner. Like, this is it. This is the moment. And he said, what's your name? What are you doing here? I said, oh, I helped organize this whole event. And he's like, oh, amazing. I'd like to bring you over to my table and introduce you to someone. And I thought, oh my God. I mean, I was like, this is it. Oh my God, it's happening. And I get to the table and of course I look around and I'm like, where's Ron? Where's Ron?
I was told.
He's not at this table. He doesn't introduce me to Ron Howard,
no.
But he ends up introducing me to, and I'm sure you knew this guy, Jay Maloney.
Sure.
Okay. Big agent at CAA.
Very big.
Who had a horrible drug problem and was
Eventually,
no longer
but
with
not
us.
that night.
Not that night, no. But Jay and I ended up forging a really amazing friendship. It was very platonic, and all he wanted to do was help me make it as an actor. And
Which is insane.
yes,
That a powerful agent at a powerful agency
yes,
meets a event coordinator
yeah.
and decides, I need to mentor and help you.
Yeah, well, they sat me at their table. I mean, I couldn't stay for very long. And they were like, what do you do? Is this what you want to do? And I said, no, I'm actually an actor. And they were like, oh, really? Oh, interesting. You know, all that chit chat stuff. And
why wasn't Ron at the table?
I don't know.
Because you did say he was there that night.
He was, but he was that I was sitting in his chair.
He must have left.
He was off. He probably left, or he was schmoozing. I don't know what, but
Right.
But anyways,
Still the Ron Howard
I'm
connection.
still waiting. But again, that's of all people for her to call out Ron Howard, and then I sit in Ron Howard's seat and I get called over. Mind you, I still have yet to be discovered by Brian Grazer or Ron Howard, if they're listening. And
Again, I'll send the link.
but I'm always, whenever I'm in the vicinity of Ron Howard, I'm always like, is this it? Is this the moment? Is this it?
I think that was the moment you sat in his damn seat.
Yeah.
That was the ridiculous, absurd connection, as close as the psychic was going to get to being correct.
Right.
Yeah.
But whatever, you know.
Beyond whatever.
Yeah.
Jordan, do you have the author of that amazing quote?
So it's not Madeline Kahn, but it's Dorothy Parker.
Dorothy
Oh,
Parker.
it's Dorothy Parker.
author.
Yeah,
Poet.
Dorothy Parker.
Of course, it's Dorothy Parker. And it is Hollywood is the only place you can die from encouragement.
That's what Google is telling me.
Oh,
So, yeah.
Google.
Mr. and Mrs. Google.
There you go.
Thank you for being there for us.
Yes.
Well, that's remarkable.
Anyways, I don't even know if that's an ending to a question or a story, but it's a pretty funny story.
It's a fantastic story, and I don't need endings.
And I'm pretty sure I've never told that story anywhere else, so that's yours.
Another breaking story here on the show. I'm done doing this, and a psychic can work. What if a psychic told me to stop doing this?
Oh, my God.
There's a segment on the show called Famous Questions. The questions themselves are not famous, but rather they were written for the guests, specifically by a famous person. In this case, a former guest of the show by the name of Sherry Appleby.
Oh, boy.
So I reach out to people that the guest knows, and I say, cough up a question, won't you?
Oh, no.
Here you go.
I feel like this is going to be bad.
I have to check my DM on Twitter to see if Craig Biarco ever got back. But first from Sherry, ask Constance about her love of working with props. She's very specific, detailed, unique, and interesting in this area.
I feel like,
Is she picking on you?
yeah.
Okay.
She's totally picking on me.
Just to be clear.
Absolutely. I have a little bit of OCD,
Okay.
and
None of that was shown here today yet.
no, it's not. Except I don't know if you did notice, though, that I put this bottle over here to be in the same proximity of this bottle, and then I
do
put the
things like
glass
that.
in the middle.
I don't have a problem
fine.
with that.
No, it's not. It's
It's slight.
super slight. It's not like I couldn't be like clinically probably register on the radar. Like if they scan my brain, I don't really think it would register. But it's enough that people that I work with every day can say, Constance, are you sure that water glass is in the right position? I also, from a very early time in my career, learned that in real life, we drink while we're talking, we eat, we do things, we fiddle with stuff. And I get bothered a lot when I see actors in anything and they're not doing anything. They're just sitting there and it's like, no, you would be eating or you'd have a pen. And so before every scene, I set up all my props. Because I want to have access to it. I don't want it to, and even if it's something like, this is something that shouldn't be close, but it should be nearby so that if I do want to use it, it's there.
An actor prepares.
Yeah. I like props. I think they keep situations real. They keep it relatable. I mean, a lot of it, we talk over each other. We talk when we're eating sometimes there's all that stuff. And, I directed a couple of episodes of Unreal and I made Sherry does not like props. And so that's why it's a little bit of a backhanded compliment, but I made her use props and I made her eat in a scene.
Oh,
and
my God.
Oh,
No,
Lord.
you
And
didn't.
but what she then realized is she did appreciate and understand the use of them and how it can help you in a scene, not hinder you. It should never hinder you and become obviously an obligation. It should always feel natural. And
Sure. And then there comes the time where you're doing coverage.
yes.
And you have to match the exact movement of those props, and then it becomes a little more.
Yeah, you can only put it in the hands of a professional actor that can match. Yes.
It's a challenge.
It is a challenge. And that's why a lot of times I think actors would just choose to not do anything so you don't have to remember. I like that challenge. I like remembering and kind of it being placement of where I go through the scene. I don't know. I have no idea. It's just stuff I've come up with and I just do it all the time.
It's part of how you do your job.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need to apologize
Yeah.
to anyone.
No.
I became a little obsessed with the Unreal program.
You did?
Unlike you, who refuses to watch Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, I really do.
Listen, I love Rachel. Rachel was on House of Cards with me.
Oh my God, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
All the more reason for you to be watching her
I am.
show.
I do.
Okay.
I haven't watched all of it.
That's all right.
I've watched random episodes.
It's there when you need it.
I love her to death.
She's unbelievable.
She's fantastic.
Yeah, and such a good person.
Oh my God. I mean, again,
Her dad came to the Critics' Choice thing on Sunday, and then we all went out to dinner after. So it was really great to spend time with her and her pops.
yeah.
That was super cool.
She's good people. She deserves it. And she's another one of those actors that was just doing good work and was, struggling like all of us. And it's
Right.
like this part comes along and it's like, where have you been? And like, no, I've been working.
Yeah.
It's just people weren't giving me this yet.
Yeah. Yeah, no, of course. You guys were great on
No,
House
I'm
of
horrible.
Cards.
I don't watch any television. I'm the worst actor ever because I'll watch one episode of everything so I have seen it, I understand it, but it's very hard for me to.
And what was the last show that you did sort of go all in with?
Homecoming.
Uh-huh. Me too.
But that was easy. It was, 8 episodes, I think. No,
Yeah.
maybe even 6.
Might have been 7.
So a half-hour episodes.
So compelling.
So compelling.
Yeah.
I mean, that I watched, very quickly.
Yeah, they were at the table right behind us because we were in the Amazon section. Mm-hmm. So I got to say, congrats and great work to the cast. That's always nice when you meet
It's always
people
nice.
who are doing work you admire.
Yeah, and Sam Esmail is...
So technically you're not against watching something on Amazon.
Oh, God, no, I love Amazon. I pitched a show to Amazon.
You did.
That's right. They didn't pick it up, but I pitched it to them.
You pitched real good.
I pitched clearly a no-hitter.
We worked together. Oh, so I did love Unreal. Mm-hmm. And because you mentioned you directed a couple of episodes, and I remember seeing that in the credits thinking, will I, if I didn't see it in the credits, would I know, sort of thing? And the answer is always, there's a template that you want to follow, and you want to make it a very special episode of that show, but you also want it to look like that show, right?
You have to.
Yeah.
You can't steer away from it.
No, it's not really a director's medium.
No.
We all know who have worked in television. It's a writer's medium,
Yes.
unlike the films. Yeah, and but it was something you enjoyed?
Loved it.
Loved it.
Loved it. Loved it. Loved it. Hooked. Yeah. Like I'm out there right now, trying to get other directing work. And yeah, I loved it because it's that OCD in me. I can control everything and everyone. And
It's a very happy place for you.
oh, it feels fantastic.
Yeah.
Making actors, I was like, no, you're going to pick up that drink. And, they have to.
Yeah.
Right.
I dipped my toe and finally, I directed a documentary, but then I directed this little comedy film. And it is sort of amazing that all the instincts you honed over the years as an actor serve you unbelievably well if you're fortunate to have great department heads and so on that you can count on. It is a joy, and I kind of recommend anyone who sits in the chair you're in to try it if they haven't.
Yeah, and I agree. I actually have to say I think actors make the best directors.
And I think it makes you a better actor, too.
Yes.
When you get done, when you get on the other side of that.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely. And I agree with you. I tell every actor, I'm like, I don't care if you don't want to direct, go and shadow a director just for a couple of days,
Great
just
idea.
to understand what you're doing when you stay in your trailer for 15 minutes. Like,
How you're affecting everything.
yeah, like just understand just that.
Yeah.
Not even about from an actor's like what you're doing on the set, but all those little things that you do not understand until you are the one waiting on the actor, or you are the one saying, "Oh, you're not prepared." Okay.
Right.
All right. You know, just the little that kind of stuff, and
What the crew is actually doing while you're in your trailer.
Yep.
Catching up on whatever. Yeah. They work the hardest. They work nonstop. Their days actually go a little quicker because they're constantly in motion.
Yeah, they're never not moving.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless you're acting. And then it is amazing to me to see the crew finally get a moment to relax because they have to be quiet while the actors are working. And then to walk past or get that little glimpse of what their downtime actually looks like. And it looks like everyone else. They're on their phones for the most part, but they look so fucking bored. They look way more bored than the actors look when they're waiting.
But they nap too, which is
have
good.
The power of the
They're
nap.
really good at that.
Yeah.
I'm not good at that.
I've gotten to the point, because I am considerably older than you, and I highly recommend you looking into this. You find out what lunch is going to be. You get a list. You have them prepare something for you to bring to your trailer in the last 10 minutes of lunch, and the rest of lunch, you are horizontal. You figure out a way to chill the fuck out.
Yeah, and I agree, like meditating, and if you can't nap, meditating and just turning your brain off.
Yeah.
But what happens to me is I think about the makeup, I think about the hair. I go, oh my God, if I lay down in this way, my hair is going to have a kink over here. And what if I fall asleep and I drool? And then all of a sudden I'm thinking about that crew and how much more. And then I'm going to have to go in earlier for touch-ups because I've slept. And when I sleep, I go down. So then I'm worse off than.
Well, you mentioned the drool, so I assume that meant you were out.
Yeah.
You were out hard.
Yeah. See, I have all that stuff, but I can meditate. So that it's not like I'm actually falling asleep, but I am.
That shouldn't affect your hair.
It doesn't affect my hair.
No.
No.
Where did you learn to meditate?
I mean, just from being involved in yoga over the years. And, you know, there's a really good app called Headspace that guides you through any kind of meditation that you want. And
Headspace. Jordan, can you make a note of that as well, please?
Yeah.
You got
It's great. And it's like they have it for kids. They have it for skeptics. They have it for, you know, people who meditate all the time.
Approved for kids and skeptics alike.
Exactly.
Well, that's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
So we do technically also share an award. I don't know if you got one. I did not. Whether you were there to be a recipient of the BTVA.
What is the BTVA?
Good question. Behind the Voice Actors Awards.
Oh.
We both worked on the Transformers Robots in Disguise.
That's right. You were on the show. Right. And we never got to work together.
No, I saw Ted McGinley.
Love.
And that
Heather.
group. He's so great.
By the way, didn't even know that we won an award.
Oh, well, I didn't either.
Yeah.
So I don't know that they actually sent them out because it was for Best Ensemble. Mm-hmm. And so technically...
It's all of us. That would be us. Yeah.
Should we compare Aaron Sorkin's stories? Oh, see, I got him when he was a puppy. You know, he had done the play A Few Good Men, but that was it.
Oh, okay.
And it had run 500 performances, so it was a big sloppy hit.
Right.
So he had the beginning of what became the confidence, I'll call it, of our modern Shakespeare. But he was very much a puppy. And his first movie set, so he was so enamored just to be present.
Right. I think he still has a little bit of that left in him because
good to
he's
hear.
creating new mediums and new ways to be challenged. Like he just directed his first movie.
Right.
I have nothing but incredible things to say about him.
Lovely.
And
Was he showrunner on Newsroom?
on Newsroom, I believe he was.
I mean, was he there every day?
Yes.
doing
Oh,
all
yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah.
Or off rewriting?
All of the above. He was there. He was rewriting. He was there. But he was there, present. You know, we shot at right across the street, Sunset Gower.
Okay.
Yeah. And so their writer's room was there. And then we shot there as well. But, you know, that those are those moments like in your career that you think are never going to happen, because I had tried to work with Aaron over the years. I was up for Studio 60, the Sunset Strip, and I had met him for that, and I was on Entourage at the time, and I didn't get that role. And I think it was, what's the other, so another show before that, LA Law, no,
Sports Night?
Yes, Sports Night. And then didn't he also have, no, that's David Kelly. He had one other show, but we were constantly trying to work together, and it just never happened. I either wasn't available or didn't get the part. And then I was on House of Cards, and I was working with Fincher, which was already like a dream come true. I thought, I can die now. Like, I'm done. This was something I never thought would happen in my career, working with David Fincher.
Yeah.
And
you were so good on the show.
Oh, that's very sweet of you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
really.
But all of a sudden, it was like, Aaron wants you to be on Newsroom. And I thought, oh, okay. And I hadn't seen Aaron or talked to him or had anything to do with him in years and years and years. And to walk on to a table read with Aaron Sorkin and Jeff Daniels and all the people that were Emily Mortimer and everybody that was already on the show, because I didn't come on until the third season.
Okay.
And I had Aaron Sorkin and David Fincher like talking about me and battling out who could have me for their work schedule
On Thursday.
Yeah. And those are like, I still talk about that. And I'm like, I'd have emails from Aaron and emails from Fincher. And I'd be like, well, Aaron says blah, blah, blah. And David says, blah. And I would sit in my chair and I'd say, how did this happen?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is insane.
Yeah. And not only when it rains, it pours, but just to be the center of either of those creative geniuses' thoughts and needs and demands is funny.
It was
silly.
Really, really.
And extraordinary. And you were able to be present for it as well.
Yes.
That's one of the things I try to encourage everyone. Just remember to be present.
Yeah, but I think those guys in particular demand presence as well. You can't be anything but present when you are working with them. And I look at that time and I was just like, who's this person?
Yeah. It is always a bizarre feeling when worlds collide like that at such a rarefied air.
Yeah. And that stuff is, I would still feel that way, well, hopefully until I'm 80. I'm still always shocked at like who even knows my name.
I know the ones truly surreal, maybe best part of any award show is when there's more of a social gathering than theater seating. So the Emmys is theater seating, and then the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice are social because you're at round tables and people are getting up during commercial breaks. So when you're meeting insanely famous people that you otherwise wouldn't meet, and that they know and acknowledge and appreciate what it is you do, by far that's the greatest part for me personally of this particular gig.
I agree.
I'm going to put gainful employment right next to that feedback in terms of my needs. But Lord, oh Lord.
Yeah.
When James Bond shakes your hand and knows your name, it's a sphincter tightener. I just couldn't,
But that's the thing, right? We forget who
we've got inventory out there.
Yeah, and who we reach out to and who it affects or doesn't affect. And instead, we always go into ourselves and think, well, nobody knows who I am. Nobody cares. Nobody sees anything I do, whatever.
It's also healthy not to assume that everyone knows who I am.
Well, but there are people.
Yes, there are.
There are a lot of
Let's go down the
those.
list now. I think one of the reasons you're here is The Angel of Vine, which I so very much enjoyed.
So fun, right?
Yeah. I, as a writer, it's one of my favorite genres, the sort of noir detective story. This next thing I'm allegedly directing that I wrote is, in fact, contemporary set, but a noir detective piece with a femme fatale and so on. And this is such a beautiful, unusual twist of the genre, but also the medium, but also the seemingly real historical ramifications. It's so, and I had
Oliver?
Joe
Manganiello. I know. I'm always like,
Everyone does that. He was here yesterday.
Oh, nice.
And Fred Molina was here a week ago. So I'm doing everything to support the show because I think it's extraordinary. If crime shows interest you at all, fiction or real, and the detective tale is your ballywick, this is an exceptional piece of work by all of you. Yeah.
It was really fun.
Right.
I mean, I don't think any of us had any idea that it was going to sound and
well, that's what Joe was saying. The production quality of the sound and the sound effects make it that much more real.
Yeah.
The performances without that would be exceptional, but they would be dry. Like any movie, this feels like you're watching a movie with the picture off in terms of the sound quality and production and, just the sounds of the streets in the background, whatever.
Right. And, I don't know if Joe talked about this, but I just did a podcast with Fred Molina and Oliver and with Ben Blacker. And he was so shocked to hear that none of us got to read the script.
Ahead of time.
No, yeah, none of us. None of us knew what we were doing. Joe might have had more because he's obviously the main character, but none of us knew anything about the podcast. And it was just like, oh, would you like to do this podcast, true crime, nonfiction, fiction? I was like, okay, because I am just now getting into the whole podcast world. And I thought, oh, I've heard those are great. Why not? And doing it's so easy. It's like the easiest, most kind of rewarding work because you just show up and you just read what's on the page and you don't have to think about anything else. And,
right.
But Ben was like, how do you agree to do something when you haven't even read the script? And I said, because it's like 2 hours out of my day. It's not like I'm committing to a 10-year show and playing this character that, God knows I might hate in a year. But that was also kind of interesting doing it and recording it because Oliver would just tell us or tell me because I did it just with Oliver. And
the creator of the film.
The guy who wrote it. And he's also
the sort of narrator.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. Oliver Vicaire. But he would say, okay, so now what's happened in between here and here is that X, Y, and Z in the story. And so, but we as the characters that have the tapes,
right,
we're not really supposed to know anything.
Right.
So it helped a lot.
To not know anything.
Was just not knowing. And then I'd be like, but can you tell me because I want to know why I'm so angry or why would I care,
Sure.
Because if I've heard part of them, is this what I've heard? And so that was kind of fun. He's like, it's okay that you don't know because we're just now revealing it. And so it was great. I mean, it's so fun. It's so fun to listen to it.
All put together.
Yeah.
It's an extraordinary piece of work.
Yeah.
The Tale of Vine is the name of that
Angel of
Vine. I'm okay. I've got it written down, thank goodness. The Angel of Vine. And it's a little bit of the Black Dahlia, just for reference point of the milieu. But it's just brilliantly produced and performed. And I could not recommend it more. I got to get this thing out of my throat. So when you went in to record that, was it just you or did you have some scene partners?
No, it was just me and Oliver. Because in the story, he's interviewing us.
Plays the guy that comes to see you.
Right.
And your...
And my daughter. Camilla Lettington.
Correct.
Yeah. So, but I never had... Camilla was never there when I was recording, even though we're in all the scenes together. It was just me and Oliver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And just crazy fun.
Yeah. I mean, they're the greatest things in the world.
That's what Joe and Fred were saying. It was just...
Yeah. Because Oliver, having written it and also being one of the stars of it, he was like, I don't know, just say that line 3 times. There was... it was very casual. It was it just felt like a very friendly atmosphere, even though like I had just met him the day I even recorded it. And all of a sudden it was just like, oh, this guy, he's going to be in my life, I'm pretty sure forever, because he's just one of those guys.
Right.
Just made you feel comfortable and appreciated and respected. And, are you going to do the line that way? And you're, no. Would you like me to, should I do it differently? It's like, no, that's actually a question. It's not a judgment.
Right.
And so you just felt very free to, test it out. I don't know.
Well, you were completely dialed in, and it does not seem, listening to it, that it was something you weren't more familiar with in terms of the material.
Right. I was very aloof.
Yeah. The casual nature of the production and recording, that certainly is not reflected in listening to it. I mean, but it also, I guess, allows for a more organic,
right,
real performance, because your character's sort of caught off guard by most of this anyways. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, oh man.
And the little girl.
Oh boy.
When you hear the tapes and you hear it's supposed to be the young me, that's
Young
actually
you.
my daughter.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
What the?
Yeah.
Maybe she'll remember that.
Yes. I think she will. I think she will. She's actually 11 and she's now been Taft-Hartley'd.
Has she got the bug?
No.
No.
Again, this is what's funny. And she's just been Taft-Hartley'd because she's done voiceover work by friends that have just like given her jobs like, hey, do you want to come and sing background on this song that like ends up in a movie? And then she's getting Taft-Hartley'd and I'm like, wow.
Yeah. For those of you listening, Taft-Hartley is something that up-and-coming actors would kill for. And it's just a process by which you join the union ultimately. And the first one you don't have to join, is that what the...
Yeah, like I think now if she does 2 more union jobs, then she has to join SAG. Then you have to pay like $3,000.
Or whatever it is.
It's crazy now.
Yeah.
How expensive it is.
Well, for us, it's based a little bit on our, if not completely on our income. You mean just to join?
No, just to join.
Right.
No, just when then you're like a forced join or a must join. I think it's now $3,000.
Wow. Back in the day, you could get the production to pay for it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Now it's $3,000 and they're not going to pay for it.
Right.
Also loved me the Boston Legal. I've got to hear a little something of just about Shatner and Spader on the same set. I mean, when they, look.
I know.
I love them both. Mm-hmm. Know them both a little bit. I started out doing impersonations in my stand-up act, and Shatner was a cornerstone, and we became friends over it. And he wrote about me doing him in his book, and then that story became a part of my stand-up act. So I've got all this crazy history with him, and a little aware, and then fan of Spader forever. And then for some reason, he remembered hearing this story of me that he quoted back to me. So that's always a interesting interlude.
Yeah.
When you meet someone that you admire. Anything? Any light you can shed on just those two entities on the same?
I mean, again, that was one of those situations where I was walking onto a show that was already hugely established with incredible actors and very out of body. And my first scene that I had to do was Shatner smacking me on the ass. And
so you got that going for you.
I did have that going for me, but I have to tell you, like, again, walking on on that set, and had come on with Craig, and Craig is awesome, and we were the newbies, and I just thought, I mean, here's somebody that I admire. Here's a show that I was already a fan of, and again, could not have been more professional. And like, actually, I've never had another male actor actually do this. So can I show you
how I'm going to slap your ass?
How I'm going to do it? I just want to make sure you're okay. Blah, blah, blah. And I thought, okay, no, that's great. I mean, and then already I was like, oh, he's a mensch. Like he cares enough. I just met him.
He's a Jew from Montreal. Yeah. I mean.
Yes. So I loved those guys. I mean, Spader, the thing I learned from Spader right away is don't ever wear Ugg boots on the set, ever.
Because he'll make fun of you?
Because he does not like Ugg boots. So that was a lesson that I learned very quickly. And And
such a specific note.
yes.
I can't wait to wear Ugg boots around him. Jordan, can you write down?
Yeah, you better make that note.
Look for an opportunity to wear Ugg boots.
Yes. But they were nothing but kind and so great. And Spader, I would just stare at in awe of the speeches and his memorization.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was an acting class in itself.
The closing arguments that David Kelly would give Spader in those scenes. And every time he made you believe that Spader was going to lose because the closing argument from the other side would be first. And you would think, wow, they just made the case and Spader's got no chance. And I would fall for it every fucking time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was what a brilliant writer. Oh my goodness.
I mean,
The David E. Kelly.
the David E. Kelly of it all.
You've worked with him a few times.
Just that show.
Oh, just that one?
Just Boston Legal, yeah.
Well, all right then. What can you tell us about an upcoming project, according to the internet, called Saint Sebastian, directed by Danny DeVito? Is that a thing?
It is a thing, but I don't know. Well, we did it so long ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm really not quite sure what happened to it. It was with Bill Fichtner, and I forgot his name.
It's okay.
No, it's horrible. I hate that when I forget other actors' names because I'm sure it happens with people with me all the time. But it was great. It was a horror thriller, crazy movie that we shot in like a haunted hospital.
In Russia? No.
No. Off of the 5 or off of the 110. It was an insane asylum.
Might as well be in Russia.
That is, and
it had been an insane asylum.
yes, and it's vacant, and the top floor is closed off for ghost. They have those ghost cameras up there that track movement, and
Hello.
yeah, it was scary. So great environment, super scary.
Danny DeVito directing.
Love that man to death.
Right?
Love him.
How did this come across?
That, again, one of those things you get a call and they're like, Danny DeVito would like to meet with you on a movie that he's directing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to go to his house and he's, having meetings. Okay. I went to his house. He was incredibly kind, was a huge fan. He's like, you're amazing. I just want to work with you. Have you ever done a thriller? I said, no, don't really have any interest in doing thrillers. And he said, can you be a blonde? And I said, no, I've tried that and it's not a good look. And he said, okay. All right. Are you okay wearing a nurse's uniform?
Tried that, not a good look. What if you just said that to every question?
I know, that would be amazing. That was,
It's kind of great that you're at a place when someone you admire seems to want you in their film and they ask if you wouldn't mind being a blonde and you say, no, I don't want to, that doesn't work. That's kind of great.
Yeah, it's great because, again, it's understanding yourself and
what you're comfortable doing.
Right.
And also knowing the best version of you.
Yeah.
This is, yeah.
And he was also, I think, given my name by our agents as well. So I think he knew me, knew of my work, was excited. But, I might not have been the first person for the part. But again, I think people do appreciate honesty. And, I also right off the bat was like, I also don't do nudity. I'm just going to let you know. I don't even know if the script has nudity, but because he wanted to just meet people, he wanted to talk. And, I appreciate that as a director. Like, these are people you're going to be working with in tough situations.
So there was no need for you to read the script before the meeting?
Did I read the script before the meeting? It's a good question.
It's been a couple of years.
I don't think I did.
Right.
Because
you would have known if there was nudity.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I got to read it when he was interested in me for the part.
Right.
And I mean, it was again, a great experience. That was right before I got House of Cards. And it was a time in my career when I was sitting at lunch with Bill Fichtner and Danny DeVito, and we were talking about careers and acting. And I was like, I think my career is over. I mean, I just went through pilot season and I tested for 10 shows and I did not get one of them. And I think people are tired of me. I just think it's done. And
This is 5-6 years ago?
6 years ago, I believe. Yeah, 6 years ago. Could be 7.
Well, I was basing it on House of Cards.
Yeah, exactly. I think it is 6 years ago. And, Bill and Danny sitting there telling me stories over, craft service.
How it's never over until you decide.
Yeah. And then it was after I did that movie, I had my first meeting with Fincher. And I remember I called Bill and I was like, I have a meeting with David Fincher. What do I...
Your names are somewhat similar.
Yeah.
What can you...
But those are that again. I think it goes back to the beginning of what we were talking about. The parts you're meant to get, and the parts that weren't yours were never yours to begin with. And I completely agree that based just on the people I have met, the conversations I've had with the jobs that I have gotten, they've all led me right here to this day.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I remember Kirk Douglas being asked that in his late 80s. Do you regret what movies do you regret passing on? And he said, I think if I did every movie that I said no to and ultimately said no to every movie that I did do, I would be in the same situation. I'd be right here, right now.
Yeah.
It is time for another segment on the show called Ask Kevin. You're allowed to ask me any question. It can be silly or sincere or neither, meaningful, meaningless. But you're allowed to ask me one question. I'm just going to check to see if Bjarko ever checked in because he's so on point.
He is. Especially social media. Well, his account got hacked.
Oh, so don't go through Twitter.
Well, I don't know if his Twitter account got hacked.
His
Instagram got
Boo
hacked.
Coverage.
Oh my God,
the coverage of Boo.
That dog's amazing, though. I have to tell you, that dog is a person.
And also Taft-Hartley.
Also Taft-Hartley. That's right. I know. Well, because he added him on the show.
Yeah.
Because he followed him around everywhere.
So why not?
Yeah. What question do I want to ask you?
Doesn't have to be.
No, I know. Well, but I like this. I like this challenge because I do find what we talked about that we might have been off mic when we were talking about Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and when you all of a sudden get another
win
chance
the lottery
at a part on a great show. And you've worked very consistently. You've never, maybe you would think you've had a dry spell, but again, everything, it's perception is reality.
Yeah,
right?
It's all ebb and flow. I've been gainfully employed for 35 plus years.
Exactly.
Yeah, no complaints.
Exactly.
But every now and then, rarefied air invites you.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And so I guess I would ask you, sitting here today, if there's one thing that you can say to another actor or another artist that would make them believe that, the path is the journey, that all of it is a part. Like, what is it that you think now sitting here that you've learned that you maybe say to yourself that you could pass along to other artists that feel that rarefied air and wonder, I don't know, how do I keep going? Or maybe I don't, or I don't know. Just I think people appreciate any kind of little bits of advice or
encouragement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great question.
Oh.
And one that's not been asked on the show.
Thank God.
So thank you for that.
Okay.
I wish I had an answer. So I would say versions of what I've said, just putting it out there, which is, turns out whoever said that the journey is what life is, not the destination, was so very painfully correct. And also just be more proactive, not just in your career, but in your life. Don't wait for either to sort of come to you or happen to you. Create your own life and work that you want to do. I started this mantra 10 years ago. If you're not creating, you're waiting. Because as artists, we're basically trained to wait for the phone to ring. For Danny DeVito to ask you if you're okay being a blonde. It starts with a phone call. Or you create your own opportunities. So I would say while you're waiting for the lottery or rarefied air to tap you for the big show, because that's all an ebb and flow throughout the journey. That's what makes the journey exciting. There will be highs and lows. And much like someone taking medication to remove the highs and lows, you've got to remember to put less importance on either. So that takes away the necessity for a goal-oriented. If I could just get this, if I could just accomplish that. Those are goals which are good to have, but let's not hang too much of your reality on it. So while you're waiting for the next tap on the shoulder, never stop creating, both in life and in work. I think it helps, without question, to feel connected, to feel involved, to feel productive. And that's probably the best way to, I think, appreciate the highs and get through the lows throughout one's life's journey. Remembering to take both a little less seriously. Right. In terms of, and this is it.
Appreciate both, right?
Yeah. Appreciate the lows. So, because the lows mean when the highs come, you'll have this low to look back on. Everything you think is the most painful, awful situation you're currently in will be your past. And you'll look back on the highs as well as the lows. Mm-hmm. And how you survived both. How you celebrated, how you were present. Don't try to skip through the lows, maybe, also.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. And now, I see Sam Kiefer, one of the great engineers here at Earwolf, in the other room, who's come for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to bear witness to this segment, because it's time for Kevin's pop quiz.
Oh, boy.
Between 5 and 15 points possible for each of the 3 questions. Once the final score is tabulated, it'll be posted on our website, along the current standing among the top 100. Are you ready?
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm. Question number 1. Keith David or David Keith?
David Keith.
That's correct. Question number 2. Carl Weathers or the weather in Carlsbad?
Carl Weathers.
Also correct. Question 3. Steve?
Yes.
3 out of 3. Look how happy Sam Kiefer is. Oh, 3 out of 3. A champion. We should just play We Are the Champions when the guest gets 3 out of 3.
Wow. I don't even know how I did it.
I don't either. I did not wager that it would go that well.
That's amazing.
No, of course. Well, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, you're welcome.
Constance
I'm so
Zimmer.
glad it only took you 10 years to have me on the show.
I'm so glad you got in under the wire.
Right?
Yes.
That's what matters most. Again.
Let me tell you something. When I did many appearances on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, because I'm old, and to be in that last year when he sort of announced, all right, I'm just going to stop doing this, just to get in the last year was so impossible. So you made the last 10.
And by the way, that's always my favorite. I mean, I was in like the 7th to the last episode of Seinfeld.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And that's something that will always be brought up to you. And
always. Yeah. And again, I don't think it would have been as monumental had I not been like almost, I mean, there was really only 5 episodes left of the whole series.
And did they know it when you were doing it?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You couldn't even, I was given one guest because it was so packed. The floor was packed.
God,
the bleachers were packed. Everybody knew it was the end. There was only like 7 episodes left. And
that was early for you.
Yeah. That was like my 3rd job.
Right.
3rd or 4th job.
That's sort of heavy.
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
I was so scared. I thought I was going to get fired every day.
Sure.
Every day.
Oh, that's the other part of the advice. When you feel like you're going to get fired every day. I mean, I felt like such a poser on the set of A Few Good Men. I really did, because I'm surrounded by giant movie stars.
Right.
And I just felt like every day someone's going to tap me on the shoulder and said, I'm sorry, we've made a horrible mistake. We meant Kevin Kline. Would you mind We've gathered your things from your trailer. Honestly.
That's
And I confessed in the trailer to a great character actor, rest in peace, J.T. Walsh, who plays Markinson in the film, Nicholson's right-hand man. And I confessed to him, and he was a great subversive with conspiracy theories about everything. Wonderful guy. I was in his trailer one day, and I said, this is it. This is the one they find out. I think it was the 8th movie I had done, but it was by far the biggest profile and all that. And he said, I've been watching you, and because I confessed I have no formal training, I don't know what I'm doing. He said, I've been watching you, actually, and you're already doing a style of acting that people train their whole lives to learn, which is less is more. But what you need to know is there's a second half to that. The full term is less is more, nothing is best. If you can do nothing in a scene and steal focus, you win. And so I like to joke, I've made a career out of doing nothing.
That's right. There you go.
And but now I'm in this rarefied air of Maisel being a blowhard. I'm basically doing Richard Kind.
Yeah.
I am channeling Lou Jacoby from Avalon. You cut the turkey without me? Yeah. So now I'm screaming to I remember Rob Reiner pulling me aside during rehearsal saying, look, here's what I need from you. Nicholson's going to hit a grand slam just because he's Jack Nicholson, and when he shows up, he hits a grand slam. Tom is going to be swinging for the fences every day to try to keep up with Jack. I need you to hit one into the gap, maybe bring in one run. Be that guy. Yeah. Crazy lucky, those moments.
Yep. Yeah.
Where, so out there, those of you know that when you get tapped, someone important will make you feel like you belong, even though you feel like they're going to fire me today.
Yeah.
Like you did on Seinfeld, your third job.
Yeah.
Constance Zimmer, I can't ask much more from you.
I mean, you could.
Other than to...
Again, less is more. Less is more. Leave them wanting more, Kevin. Leave them wanting more.
Thank you for being part of the end.
Thank you. Glad
and spending your cloudy, somewhat rainy Wednesday with us. Much appreciated.
Please. So excited.
I'm gonna reach out to you when I have Pamela Adlon on.
Good.
For a famous question.
Okay.
So prepare one.
I'm ready.
And I want to thank Jordan. Thank you so much for being our engineer today.
Thank you. This was a great conversation.
Oh, yeah? You had a good time?
I loved it.
Well, so we had one fan from our conversation today.
Great.
And you know what? That's all I need.
Yeah, that's it.
That's all I've ever needed. If I can make one person happy or laugh.
You've done it.
By what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You've made a difference.
I feel like I've won the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
You're
How sweet.
welcome.
And everyone here at Airwolf for the auspices. By the way, again, stop by anytime, Airwolf on Sunset Boulevard. Just walk in, second floor, no security. Just tell them I sent you.
Have they taken you up on it?
I'm still waiting.
Oh, still waiting.
Yeah.
Still waiting for somebody.
Hannah Crichton, the great booking individual who made today possible, who brought us together.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it.
And Corey Levitt in post. And Sam Kiefer for popping in for the final Kevin's Pop quiz. And really...
I'll personally say thank you from Sam.
He really... What's that?
I'll say thank you from Sam.
Please. He really celebrates like a lunatic.
Yeah.
And I thank him for that.
Do people not... What are the questions based on?
Well, it's always the same 3 questions.
Oh, it is?
It is. And they're silly. And they're meaningless. But I love that every single person, no exceptions, takes it very seriously.
Right.
Doesn't say, wait a second, this is bullshit while we're doing it. Because if you were to stop and examine what's actually happening.
Right.
Carl Weathers or the weather in Carlsbad? I mean.
Right. But I mean, you are thinking.
There's an answer.
There is an answer.
And then the last one, Steve.
I mean.
Come on.
It's very funny.
It makes me happy.
It's very funny.
But part of why it makes me happy is how serious everyone takes it, which is great. Because it means we're dialed into the conversation.
Yeah.
And I haven't wasted the person's time.
And do people get them all right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
always.
make damn sure of it.
Oh, you make damn sure of it.
Sure, because I control correct.
That's true.
I get to say correct. And their eyes light up. It's kind of magical.
Wait, so every answer that everybody gives is always correct?
That's right. You know what? That's not correct. That's not correct. There's been several occasions where I thought it would be fun to tell that particular guest, nope,
Oh.
Yeah.
And how'd that go over?
We're great.
It did?
Yeah.
And they were like, what's the answer?
That's
And
exactly
why?
right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
Yeah.
I thought this person needs to be tortured and they're going to enjoy being tortured. So I'm, so I would say 27%
That's hilarious.
do not get every single one correct.
That is very funny.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So fun.
Excellent. All right. That's our show for today. Until next time. And as always, get out of my face.
Get out of my face.